Well, hey everyone, we are your whistleblowing shrinks, Dr. Teralyn and therapist Jenn, and this is the Gaslit Truth Podcast. Before we introduce our special guest we have today, we need to do a quick shout out to our newest brand partner. I'm holding this up. If you guys are on YouTube, you can see it. It is organic protein. All right. It's a quick, easy way to add 21 grams of protein to any of your smoothies, your coffee, your post workout, whatever you need. We use this in my house every single day. So, to support brain function, guys, go ahead. You can find this on YouTube. Visit the link in our YouTube description and get your nice little fatty discount on this.
And if y'all are watching, shout out to my dermatologist for absolutely trashing my face for this episode, but all in good faith. If I don't call myself out on it, somebody else will call me out on it. So anyway, here we are. I have a really fun guest today. You might know him from the Health Files on TikTok, and we're going to let him do his introduction of himself. So welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm Mark. So talking about SSRIs and the not the side effects that we talk about, but the actual effects of SSRIs. And I lost 3 years of my life because of citalopram after having the best year of my life because of citalopram. And that's the double-sided edge, the blade of SSRIs. They can help you, and then they can also injure you to the point of completely non-functioning. And that's where I was, completely non-functioning. I had to, I'm a 20-year copywriter, advertising, written for some of the top companies in the world, worked with some of the top companies in the world, helped them make lots of money. And I had to retire because my brain wouldn't work, because the thing that people paid me for didn't do what it did. And I didn't know why. And I was constantly told that citalopram, Celexa, was not a part of the equation. It does not do the things that I was talking about, even though I kept tracing everything back to that. And, not in short amounts of time, months would go by and side effects would get worse. And I forgot things. I stopped having libido. My libido totally gone until I lost the ability to perform at all. And for a man who identified very much with his sexuality, that was devastating. And then I also got into a relationship right at the beginning of the side effects being their worst. Somebody who stayed with me throughout the entire experience. And honestly, without her, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I don't know if I would be here in this body as Mark Pescetti anymore. That is how dark it got. And I mean, I'd love to get into some of the details because I think people need to hear more about it.
Yeah, I'd like to rewind time a little bit and ask you, how did you get on this medication? Like, what led you up to being prescribed? Because I ask because everybody has a different prescribing story, every single person. So I want to know yours.
So I was seeing a rheumatologist in Southern Oregon. He put me on citalopram because I have lupus and Sjogren's disease, two autoimmune diseases that cause massive inflammation. You can see the inflammation on my face. I have been in a constant flare since trying to get off of citalopram. And then now that I'm off of it, I've been off of it since March 28th of this year. And it has been quite a journey. It is, how they talk about the non-linear nature of healing. Oh my, that will mess with your head in ways that I cannot possibly describe, because you think, oh, I'm never going to heal. This is never going to get better. I'm going to be brain damaged for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And everything I thought I was is gone. And it's still, a lot of it is still gone. I'm, a little over 2 months from being off of it, and things have started coming back online. Things have started healing. And so the entire journey of 14, 15 doctors gaslighting me, telling me that the symptoms I was experiencing were not real.
What were some of
Or
those symptoms that you started noticing in the early days? Because you said for the first year it was fantastic, like this is great, and then it
so
suddenly wasn't.
so the pain from lupus and Sjogren's, that's why the psychological effects of being in a body that is
Mhm.
broken. I was put on Celexa for those symptoms, and it helped. For that first year, little over that first year, I was in bliss because I wasn't having panic attacks because of the pain. I was able to sleep, and I'm a princess. I love my sleep.
Me too.
I love that feeling of being exhausted, putting my head down, falling asleep, and then waking up and being like, yes, here's my day. And that was all taken away. So, and in fact, I didn't sleep for pretty much a year. I mean, I was lucky to get an hour's sleep in a night. The panic of what happens when the brain is finally molded to the drug, and that takes time. And by the way, you guys are doctors, you know this, those are the effects. Those are the actual mechanism of action intended effects to
Mhm.
power down receptors because the brain is so full of serotonin, and then dopamine starts going down and this dysregulation in these chemicals. And I never thought that was that big of a deal.
Well, that's
It's like,
because we're told it's not a big deal. Like this will help
Yes.
you. Like it's just shush,
Yeah,
whatever. We're not
it's not.
told
Yeah.
that the effects are
Mhm.
big deal like that.
well, and also just I
Because
was
we're
so emotionally.
honestly, well, yeah. But I think like people think that psychiatric medications are heat-seeking missiles, and the only place that they're going to impact you is in your brain, and that's it. But they impact you wherever you have a receptor. And then the downregulation of other neurotransmitters happens. Like this is, when I talk about you can't get something for nothing, there's always a trade-off, no matter what kind of medication that you're on. But I do think people think like, well, it's just going to impact my brain and that's where I need it the most, but it impacts many organs. Any place in your body that there's a receptor, it will impact negatively eventually.
Yes,
Mhm.
and
We don't know when. You don't know when. You didn't know if that was going to be at a year, at 3 years, at 5 years, you don't know.
it's interesting because I've talked with a lot of people now who through
Mhm.
have health files through YouTube, other things that I do, that have talked about their SSRI experience, and everybody across the board that I've talked to has been like, at first it was positive.
Mhm.
At first I felt like, okay, I can take a deep breath, I can get back to my life. And that's why you have so many people fighting for those prescriptions,
Right.
because
It saved my life.
they're on this part of
Mhm.
the journey. And
Yep.
so it's fine. I understand it. And those are the people I want to talk to the most in a lot of ways, because it's like, you can actually prevent this. You don't have to stay on this and go through the whole journey of losing yourself and trying to get yourself back.
I think okay, so you make a valid point here because I'm thinking about the people who say like psych med saved my life or antidepressant saved my life. In that moment, that could be true.
100.
But what we forget about is that might no longer be true. But you're remembering back to maybe the darkest time of your life or the hardest time of your life, and you're given a pill and it helped you then. And so that's the reflection. Like I'll never get off of it because I never want to be like that then, not
Yes.
realizing that now you're different and that then might not even be who you are now. You might be experiencing all these other effects, but you're still living in this past idea that, without this, I wouldn't be here,
And
because of that moment, those
it
moments.
also got rid of my ability to respond to people in a normal, healthy, rational way. My emotional fuse was like, it was almost non-existent. So I would get irritable a lot, and that wasn't my nature. That's not my nature. My nature is to enjoy life. Irritable.
Gary, if you guys aren't on YouTube right now,
you're calling me out.
She's doing some funny stuff here.
This is supposed to, I grew up homeless. I grew up outside of the system. I'm a fourth grade dropout. I didn't have tutors. I didn't go to high school. I'm 100% self-taught. And so when I'm dependent on my brain, and when I started losing it, I flailed. I thought I was losing my talent. I thought I was losing my ability. And what's interesting, so another reason I was put on it is my mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I was the only one taking care of her. My siblings, they bailed. I've never talked to them since she went through it and then left the planet. And the impact of that. And by the way, that was in 2019. I could still feel. And even though I lost my best friend, I was able to fully feel the experience. And that memory of being able to fully feel the experience, the sadness, the magic after she died, the energy in that room, feeling her just, I'm not religious, but feeling her energy just totally envelop that room. And it just felt amazing. And so when I lost the ability to feel that level of emotion and that numbness started taking over, everything started having rounded, edges, rounded edges. All the edges got taken away. All the feels got taken away. And that was my compass. That is the compass that I have followed my entire life since I was 8, 9 years old. Just being able to trust that what I'm feeling in my gut is going to lead me to that next step, to that next step, to that next step. And I lived a magical life because of that. A fourth grade dropout. I literally never got taught any of this stuff, and then being able to become a copywriter and competing against the biggest brains and the biggest egos on the planet. Oh my God, advertisers have the biggest egos. It's insane.
Yeah, so do psychologists. It's fine.
Yeah, it's very true.
And so I was able to do all that. And then as that started disappearing, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic hit. And then I started drinking on top of it because I didn't feel anything. And I started drinking. I mean, we're talking double digits a day.
Well, I don't know if you know this, you might now, but I mean, these medications increase tolerance, so people end up drinking more. So I hear this a lot. Like, I started drinking more and, didn't have to, I could drink people under the table. I could, all this stuff. Like, it wasn't amounts that were absurd, right?
It's mm-hmm. actually the drinking that started the healing process for this. On December 23rd, December 23rd, 2023, I hit rock bottom. I was sitting on the floor in the living room crying because I couldn't feel. I mean, it was just, I'm not going to be too explicit, but I didn't want to be here anymore. And I thought about all the different ways that I could not be here anymore. And when I started thinking that way, I was like, Mark, you love life. What is going on? You're in a relationship with somebody who, for some reason, really actually likes you. And you are, kindred spirits, you're adventurers. And where's your adventure? Where did you go? And then when the sexual side effects happened and I was like not getting turned on, I got emotionally distant because I was trying to hide what was going on until I figured it out. And, I tried the little blue pill. I tried nothing worked. Like the man downstairs was dead and he was not getting rid of it.
Might as well have been an elbow.
Yeah.
Might as well have been an elbow.
It was just like, why do I exist anymore? And when I went to the doctor, nothing. Everything's fine. You're fine.
Yep.
It's just stress. And
Yeah, it's psychological. It's the reason you can't, get an erection or be aroused. It's psychological. You're just under too much stress.
And
Yep.
at that
Mhm.
time, my inflammatory numbers were fine. Everything was fine. It wasn't until I started trying to wean myself, and nobody told me how to do it. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
it looks like it's like a 2-week wean, maybe 4 weeks. So I started doing it like, everybody talked about, I researched and I did it, and I started getting the brain zaps. And then I started getting neuropathy. I got neuropathy in my nose, in my ears, in my eyes, my hands, my feet. I couldn't touch hot water. It was so unsettling. Taking a shower was something that was just like, get in, get out. I have to shave my head. Boom, 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 get out. Be covered
Mhm.
in blood because I would cut myself all up just trying to get out of the shower as
Do
quickly
it
as I could.
quick.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then my face started changing. I wake up every morning looking like I got beat up the night before. And the orbital swelling,
Yeah.
the blood vessels get damaged and then they leak. So all the vessels are leaking, and I'm trying to figure out how to repair that because the worse it gets, the worse it gets. And I thought, oh, well, now that I'm off, it'll get better. Well, no, damage is done. And
Mhm.
so now I have to figure out how to help repair that damage as my body, because mind you guys, I've been off of citalopram since March 28th of this year. After 3 years of trying to get off of it, I don't know how quickly the body is going to heal, how quickly my body is going to heal. And I know I do want to talk about that because I know that one of the biggest fears for people who are going through emotional blunting is I'm never going to get me back.
Never coming back.
Correct. Yes.
And that was my
Mhm.
biggest fear, because and it was a fear that was confirmed true every time I tried to taper off because I wasn't
Sure.
tapering off right. And ultimately, I had to get one of those piping, um,
Mhm.
that you can dose
Syringes.
at
Mhm.
0.1
No, not a
milliliter.
syringe. It's like
Oh.
a
Yep,
laboratory, pipette
yep.
thingy that you
Oh.
have.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. I know what you're
Mhm.
talking about. Mhm.
And then I
Mhm.
had to do the
Yep.
compounded liquid, and that was
Yep.
all my own advocation. The
Mhm.
I travel. I live in Airbnbs. Since my mom died, I just said screw it, and why do anything conventional? Yeah, I
Right.
didn't see the point. She was one of the healthiest, most like she always just had a vision. She wanted to have a healing retreat, an alternative healing retreat, help
Oh.
people's bodies heal with, all the good stuff that we can throw into the body based on my experience of having cancer as a kid. And well, I mean, she worked at a cancer clinic at that point in her life, but she didn't like the system. She wanted people to have alternative ways of healing. That was her vision, and that's all I knew my whole life. She never accomplished it, and she died in vain. And so I want to make sure that through my process of healing from SSRIs, that people do know that your body can heal. I was exactly just even 2 months ago where a lot of people are right now that this is never going to stop. And once the body can start recovering, it will. The body knows how to heal. It just needs the tools. It just needs the opportunity.
Yeah, and I tell people a lot, like, I think that we forget in the healing part that your body is doing so much work on your behalf that you don't even know what's going on inside. And so when, like the hopelessness or the fatigue or all the stuff, and I'm like, but your body is just doing these amazing things inside for you. Remember that it's doing its job without you even knowing that it's doing its job. And that seems to help people because it's not like you break your arm or you have a cut on your arm and you can see the healing process. Like you can't see it. You can feel it and it feels awful. And then it also feels amazing. So everything that you're feeling is part of that healing process that you don't even have to do anything about, really. It's going to do it. It's doing it all for you behind the
Yep.
scenes. It's very interesting to me to think about it that way. And I wanted to bring something up real quick. It's been on my mind. People get real pissed off at your account on TikTok. There's especially, I'm going to bring it up because you had a video and it got sent to me probably a dozen times. It was the video on addiction versus dependence.
Ha!
I
You
deleted
sent
it.
that one.
Yep.
Yep, she said that one to me.
You
I'm
did
like,
delete it?
ding.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Why did you delete it? I'm wondering.
The comments were fine. I can deal with the comments. It's the direct messages and
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
interacting, choosing to interact with people. And the one thing that I am throughout this process, absolutely at this point, it's a non-negotiable. If my nervous system gets too frazzled, it sets me back, and I'm not
Yes.
willing to do that. So
Yeah.
my norm.
So it's kind of a protective thing that you
Yes.
did by taking it down.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up, not to frazzle you again, but when people reached out to me and they sent that to me like a jillion times, my response was, I don't care. And people don't like that response from me because they want me to make that big differentiation. And I said, this man is healing. This man is angry. He's upset. And whatever words he chooses to put to his pain and his healing journey
Yep.
is his words. And I said, when I was going through this, I told my husband all the time, this was years ago, I felt like an addict. And I would say that word over and over again because I didn't know what else to say. And that was just what I was feeling and believing and thinking. And I'm like, listen, I am not going to be the person to, rain on somebody's healing parade when they're using language that they feel is appropriate. And so that's where I sat with that and the community was not happy with me for not defending the whole thing. But Jen and I have made a stand that we don't do that because addiction and dependence, I don't know. People are like, well, that's how they're going to differentiate what treatment modality you get. I'm like, it's not though. The differentiation is going to be the classification of medication. So, if you're listening, you're going to be pissed off that I said all that. However, I just wanted to acknowledge that I felt like that video that you made that was so controversial was just you and your passion and you trying to get a word out. And I appreciated it.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm sad that you took it down.
I talk very passionately.
You do, and bluntly.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn filters. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 3 years old. My mom actually disappeared for months, and I still to this day never knew where she went. My sister took care of me because she had a difficult time dealing with an autistic child. I couldn't look at people in the eyes. I didn't talk to people. If I did look at you, if we made eye contact, my heart would jump out of my chest. And then she was my best friend. When we moved to Maui, when I was 9 years old, we were homeless for 4 years. And so we went through a lot of stuff, and I had to learn how to hustle. I was a 10-year-old kid with a huge Jufro. I mean, my hair was unruly. If I didn't wash it,
I can't even imagine
it was crazy. I did professional wrestling when I was 16, the fake stuff.
Oh my God.
And I had dreadlocks. I had a beard with braids on it, and I had beads in it. And your mother, your father, they didn't love you. You're just another victim. I talk like that. And anyway.
You're like a caricature.
It was my first writing job, actually, writing for the wrestling. But
that's
yeah,
fun.
But the passion that I have for things that I throw myself in, I speak, and yes, I usually don't think before I talk. I I get immersed in it, I do my research, and then I just barf it out. And that worked in advertising. It doesn't work in the rest of the world too much. So I would like, I still want to have that conversation. I just want to do it in a way that is actually going to be received, because I think it is a conversation worth having, dependence versus addiction.
I think it's a conversation worth having too. I'm just not in the business of correcting people's language. And the reason I don't do that is because everybody that listens to this show has been gaslit by language over and over and over again. And who am I to do that to somebody else's lived experience? That's my entire point.
And I would love
of why
I would love, it's like I always will be, why are you yelling at me? Why are you attacking me? And it's because I come off so strong.
You do.
So I've learned that when I speak with a softer, more empathetic tone, that things are much more well received, and I have to be able to be in a place where I can actually authentically do that. Which there's a reason I'm not making videos too much lately, because I've been focusing on healing. When I start feeling sparks of emotion again, like again, I've been off for two and a half months. And so I felt sparks of Mark coming back. And it's like, I want more of that. And then my libido came back. And then my actual ability to perform started coming back. And I was like, okay, I'm not as broken as I thought. And after, because I treated myself so poorly when I was trying to wean, I'm going to, go from 40 milligrams. Okay, I'm going to go to 20. I'm going to go to 10. All right, fourth day, I'm off. And then the next 2 weeks would be some of the worst feelings, like just my eyes felt like they were sucking into my skull, the brain zaps, the neuropathy, the not being able to remember my own daughter's name or her birthday. That devastated me, to not be able to remember my daughter's name, who I named, and it was based off a very powerful symbol for me. And it's just like, how's that possible? And by the way, when my mom was leaving and having the Alzheimer's, my mom was like her second mom. They were so close. And my daughter couldn't show up for her grandma. And that broke me. And I yelled at her. And we haven't talked since. That was 7 years ago now, 6 years ago. So, it's just like, I wish I knew what was going on with my brain at that time so that I could have adjusted. I thought I was reacting to my own physiology and had no support, no advocate, no, when I went to the rheumatologist who put me on citalopram, I said, my emotions are just getting darker and darker, and I'm even just losing any care or interest. Like, that's not me. And, it's probably just lupus. It's probably, inflammation. It'll go away. And then I got into I got into the relationship before the relationship that I'm in. And that was a toxic relationship that encouraged drinking. And so I kept damaging myself more and more, just trying to cope. And I was okay with it. I was okay with coping. And then I realized I was doing what my father did, slowly leaving the planet on purpose. And I acknowledged it. I acknowledged that I was being a coward, that I was succumbing to the fear that I was too far gone, that I said things that I could never take back. And when I yelled at my daughter, I didn't call her names. How can you live with yourself not showing up for the person who showed up for you your whole life? And there's so many ways that I could have said it nice. There's so many ways that I could have said it supportingly as a father. I'd love that back. I'd love to have that one back. So, and by the way, I take responsibility for it. I acknowledge that my brain was being scrambled and I didn't know, and I have to take responsibility for it.
Yep.
I
Right.
have to.
Yep.
Because that's the only I don't know if I'm ever going to talk to her again, and yet that's the only way I can heal. And I wasn't myself in Hawaii. I grew up in Hawaii. The Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. It's a simple prayer. And I say it again and again and again and again and again throughout every single day, just trying to find a way to forgive myself and not just completely blame myself, because yes, it's my responsibility. And yes, my brain was going through something I couldn't even fathom, and nobody can help me. And not only did nobody help me, everybody told me it's all in your head. This is not what's happening. So I kept taking it, thinking, just get through it, just get through it. Getting more and more emotionally blunted until Mark Pescetti was gone. And
Did they increase your dose at all? Like when you would say that, did they try?
20 to
Okay.
40.
So you'd go in there and you'd complain about not feeling and blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, let's put you on
Yep.
more.
And in fact, that's also when they started talking about putting me on other meds as well. And I did try a few, but it was really bad. And then, I started taking a lot of ibuprofen. I needed stuff for the pain, for the lupus Sjogren's pain. And I did not know, and this is, personal to me, but I have to imagine a lot of people do go through it as well. When you are when your brain has molded to this drug, to an SSRI, it puts a lot of stress on the nervous system when we try to wean, when we taper, even when we taper hyperbolically. It puts a lot of stress on the nervous system. And I did not give myself the space to have that be a reality. And so I kept snapping at people. I've lost everybody in my life. I have one person left in my life, and that's my girlfriend. That's it. Everybody else, no friends, no family. This has been a complete breakdown of every part of my life, and I'm only now rebuilding. And I'm also rebuilding where I only have access to still a portion of my brain. Like when I'm doing work, my brain starts to physically hurt. And then I start getting more swelling. And then my autoimmune stuff, everything's cracking. I'm on the floor. And this happens on a daily basis. Every day I yell at myself. I'm dysregulated because it's just, I need a little more energy. Please, just a little more energy. I'm out of spoons. Just one more spoon. I just need a little more. I need to finish this. It's because I'm trying to financially catch back up.
Right.
I'm trying to rebuild, and it's still not there. The whatever it was that made me so good at what I did, it's still not back yet. And I still don't feel that magic. I still don't feel, I feel so good. I feel grateful to be me. I don't feel that. And I used to feel it every day. I used to be able to acknowledge it, that at least I'm me. At least I know how to process this and move forward. At least I can. And I don't feel that way anymore. And man, that's hard to be in a world that is gotten really mean. And to have such a difficult time processing basic emotion. I cry every day. I've been crying every day because it's just it feels like so much loss. And the one thing that you talked about with that video, I get angry and I start yelling, and it's just like I want justice. I want
Yes.
justice. I want that class action lawsuit. I don't want money. I don't want their money. I want them to be accountable. I want them to feel the pain. But as I've gone through this more and more, and I still believe that, but as I've gone through this more and more, I've realized what the real thing here is. I just need to heal. It doesn't matter who did what. It doesn't matter who gaslit me constantly. Every single day, somebody gaslit me about this. And I have to forgive
Yep.
them. I have to, because
I think you just described like the stages of grief, right? So like in all of that, like then we get to this acceptance place of like, I need to heal. That's really, this has happened to me and I need to heal. It's not about, justice anymore, maybe a little bit. But or getting back at anyone. And and I would say that you were placed in front of an audience of people who are in the same space as you. They're all in the same space, and I was really sad that part of that audience like turned on you, and because I kept saying like he's in our audience, like he's part of us, like
Yep.
he's right in the same space as the rest of us trying to figure this all out. Like let's bring him in, let's embrace this person instead of like your words are wrong, you're wrong, this is horrible, you're a bad person. And I'm like,
yeah, honestly haven't really recovered from that, because I want to feel community. And
mhm,
I felt wholeheartedly unacceptable to people. And it got the reason why it got to the point where it didn't matter what I said. It felt like I felt like I was just getting bulldozed. And
yeah,
um and I pulled back entirely, because now I just feel like I still feel the passion. I still want to get this out there. When a bunch of women I was DMing went to Washington to go listen to RFK Jr. talk about what
mhm,
he said about his personal experiences. I saw the full raw video, and I was happy to hear that somebody in the government was saying this, and RFK was the wrong person, in my opinion, to say it, because he lacks a lot of the credibility. Nothing he said I disagreed with. I just he comes with a lot of baggage, and
mhm.
I feel like the person who needs to be leading this cannot be that. And I also don't feel like he really actually knows. Um, and so I still do, because so many people are affected, and more every day, from not just SRIs but psychiatric meds. Period. SSNIs are intense.
Mhm.
But oh, and the biggest thing, and being on here with doctors, this is so inspiring for me to see people in your position doing what you're doing right here, talking about this and giving somebody like me a platform to talk about this, because I was fighting doctors. I was fighting the
Yeah.
medical system. And not only was I fighting doctors who were gaslighting me, but doctors who just didn't know and just didn't
Mhm.
care. And were not going to, just
Yep.
like the doctor I'm with right now, has not done 60 seconds of research, even though I've been seeing him for over 5 months.
Yep.
And he,
Well, just so you know, Mark, I'm not the right kind of doctor, nor am I doctor enough, according to a lot of people. So,
I, I think You're the exact type of doctor that is needed in the world right now.
Oh, thank you.
And the way that you are using your authority and empathy to create conversation is something that I aspire for. The way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak, the way that you're able to do that while being like that is impressive.
Took a long time. It took a long time. And I want to, because we do need to wrap up a little bit here. I want to express to the followers that are listening who were pretty hard on you. We need to do a better job of including people into our community instead of excluding based on language or even differing of opinions, because opinions will differ all the time in the same space. And they differ based on knowledge. They differ based on personal experiences. And so I want to, extend a re-invitation to you, Mark, to come back into the community, if you will, which has its level of toxicity, in my opinion. And Jen and I have both talked about this off air a lot, because of that, because of the division, because of all of that. We need to, we're all better together. We're better together and supporting each other, which is why you won't see me on there, even though people wanted me to go up against you, and I was like, I refuse. I'm not going to do that. That's not appropriate. And if you notice, I don't even go up against other people saying bad things. I just do my own shit. Like, I do my own thing the majority of the time, unless I wrote my husband into a weird video. But anyway, so aside from that, I want to officially welcome you back into the group, as if I'm the president or something. I'm not, but you're welcome back into the group. And I wanted to expressly call out that video because of that reason, and I wanted some understanding as to the way I felt about it. And your hurt, your passion came out in that video for me, which I think is what everybody in the room can share. I think we all share because we've all been there. So, I know you've pulled back, but I do appreciate your content. And yeah, you're one of us. You're one of us. You're one of
I
us.
appreciate it, and I have been clearing a lot of energy so that I can show up to be a participant and not just somebody who's like on the soapbox. I don't want to be on the soapbox. And I want what I even though I come across I want to have a conversation, and I also don't care about being wrong. If I'm wrong, I will so say it. I will so say it, because who cares? I have been wrong about so many things. I have fallen with my face in the mud so many times. This ego is just chopped up. So
Hey, Jen and I built careers on being wrong. So
we did.
There's a scene. I don't know if you guys remember the movie Dances with Wolves, but there's a scene where the elders are talking about the white man coming and that it's inevitable. And the young warriors are like, let's go, let's take them out, let's do this. And the elders, I think it was Graham Greene, the actor, he's like, we should talk about this some more. That was like the end of the council meeting. That we don't have the answers yet. The answers are still long and coming, but we are on the journey. And I feel like I'm on this journey, and I appreciate that you are showcasing these journeys, because doctors are not helping. They're not. Doctors are not helping. A lot of doctors are making this worse and just blindly prescribing what the pharmaceutical companies tell them. And this just a little bit of awareness that if you are taking an SSRI and you do not feel like you anymore, you can take a deep breath, that there is a community of people that have gone through that are trying to figure out, that are sharing their experiences and listening to yours. And that's all I want. And I really F that up. So I appreciate that. And I hope that there's the opportunity to to build and keep supporting each other, because that's really what this should be about. Not about me, not about justice,
Mm-hmm.
just what are you going through and how can we help?
Yeah. I just want to thank you for showing up today so authentically and
Yes.
emotionally and all of those things, because if that's what you want to do, I believe you did that today. So I want to thank you for that and for getting to know you a little bit better. And yeah, we're going to wrap up today's episode. So if you've hung out with us this far, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. And thank Mark for being on here by following the Health Files on TikTok for sure. I don't know where other platforms you're on, but I know TikTok for sure. Let him know he's part of our community. And yeah, send us your Gaslit Truth at the Gaslit Truth Podcast at gmail.com.
All right. Thanks, everybody.